Now this is our 2008 Nissan R51 Pathfinder, and today it has problems. See, it's been leaking brake fluid. That's where it was parked last night. Now this fluid leak would not show up for weeks. Like, it was just super slow till yesterday. I saw it, so I parked it here and I stood on the pedals. This is what happened. So I found it. It's on the front passenger caliper. So we're gonna take it apart and see what we discover. I'm hoping it's just a crush washer. As you can see from my vintage Mack truck winter hat, happens to be my favorite hat, and I'm putting it in my videos because if anybody out there has another one, I know a guy that's interested. It's my favorite one. Can't buy them, but if you have one, I'd like to have it. Oh, and in the back, it's winter here in Canada. Roads are slippery and truck goes off there maybe 3 to 6 times a winter, so they're dealing with that today. Anyway, that's another story. Back to the car. All right, so we're here in the garage. We got the wheel off. Turned it, pumped the brake pedal a couple times, and follow the drip right there. So I would say, hopefully just that crush washer. There's none on the hose. Hose is dry. So I don't know, let's find out. Okay, I've taken the caliper off of the mounting bracket because I wanted to be able to clean it up, not attached to the vehicle. And as suspected, I'm gonna do my brake pads while I'm in here too, because, you know, why not? So I'm gonna grease these pins, pull this off, go to the store, buy some new brake pads and all the things. Getting those slide pin bolts out. That's a 14 mil head. I'm gonna take these brackets off. It's a 19 mil. I grease these while it's on the vehicle because, you know, it holds things for me. Since I had to be in here anyway, I made an executive decision to go ahead and put some new brake pads on while I'm here. The rotor has been, we'll call it resurfaced. Now, the actual problem is the crush washer. Right underneath this, we're gonna take it out, I'll show you. It's an aluminum one, that's what came with this caliper. It's about a year old. I live where there's salt. If you don't have salt, I am very jealous. So we're gonna take this off, we're gonna scour it a little bit, 2 new crush washers, banjo bolt back in, and torque to spec. I'll throw the spec sheet up so you can look it up yourself. You're looking for the 3rd number if you're looking for foot-pounds. These service manuals are available for free online. You should grab some and get used to reading them instead of taking some knucklehead's word for it. I've got other videos on changing brakes, but if you wind up in here and you're doing your brake pads, you can use an old brake pad and a C-clamp. You don't need a fancy tool to squeeze those pistons back. You gotta do one side at a time. It's not leaking anymore, so we're gonna squeeze these back, mount it on. I'm gonna go get one of my kids to come out here and pump a pedal so we can bleed some brakes. Okay, hopefully that does it. I had the torque values on the screen. This one looks a lot like a 3 and a 2 put together. This one looks a lot like a 1, 3, and a 6. And your banjo bolt's a 1 and a 9. And you can see the new crush washers. Now, if you're wondering what was wrong, there's the 2 crush washers right there. And that is what salt does. The new calipers I put on last year came with aluminum crush washers. Never used them before. Hope to never use them again. But apparently that's what salt does to them. Now you know. All right, gotta bleed some brakes. Okay, well, the job I came in here for is done. So you can stop watching. You now know if you're leaking around that hose, check your crush washers. But if it helped, my kids tell me if you hit the little red button, apparently in 10 years, YouTube will give me enough money to buy a coffee. Here's something else I was gonna show you though, if you happen to be sticking with it and decided to take your brake calipers apart. Sometimes they'll seize in there. Most of the time, a good stiff pry bar of some kind after your slide pin bolts right here will just snug that out enough that then we can take it off by hand. If you're still watching, I'll show you this. This is the tool I like to use, but not quite long enough to get the torque I need. And so you can put it on there and you can whack it with your hand. But once upon a time, I worked with a man that was French, and he said, "Your hand is not a hammer." The doctor, he told me not to use my hand as a hammer. So get a longer bar. But if you run out of room because you're working in the dirt, if you take the bar off, so take the whole thing off. We're gonna take the socket off the bar. We're gonna turn it till it fits back on the bar. When you put that back on, that will change the position of your bar just enough to get the room you need so that you can then break that off. just like that. So if you're in a tight space, that'll save you some time. Now we're gonna take this rotor inside and tap it with a hammer and run it through a brush on a bench grinder. What I meant to say is resurface it. That's what we're gonna do. All right, we got it changed. I got my daughter in the front seat. She's pumping the brakes. And it's wet because, you know, we've had brake fluid everywhere and we've been bleeding it, but it is not leaking, which is awesome. So we're gonna bleed the brakes into our collection container because, you know, you gotta recycle this stuff. That's important. And then we're gonna call it done. Okay, as you can see, my dash is lit up like a Christmas tree. That's because I was spraying brake fluid. So, theoretically, to get that to stop, I'm going to disconnect the positive side of my battery and just let it sit while I put the wheels back on. It should reset those codes, maybe, you never know. And then if they come back on, I know I have another issue to solve. But hopefully, the not having brake fluid going everywhere will do the trick. We shall see. Resetting the battery did not clear the codes, so we'll go for a drive, see if we can plug it into it. Probably not. And we'll take it to the shop and have it cleared. Oh yeah, that transport truck, still working on it. I pulled over on the side of the road. Disconnecting my battery did not immediately turn off the sensors, but I get in it. I drove it for a couple of minutes after having disconnected the battery. I don't know how long it was. I changed the oil, so it was a bit. Lights are gone. I just had to drive about a kilometer while I came out to seat the brakes. So we're just heating them up, and I think everything's good as long as there's no leaks. That flashing airbag light, I've got another video somewhere that shows you how to turn that off, and I'll get to it eventually. All the brakes are warmed up. I'd say they're seated, just sitting here waiting for traffic to go by so they don't wonder what the crazy guy is doing with the flashing brake lights while I'm heating them up. But we're heading home. No lights on the dashboard. Everything seems fine. No brake fluid. You know, spraying sideways because of corroded crash washers. It's a good day. Here's what I'm supposed to tell you now, according to my teenage kids. If you hit that like and subscribe thing, apparently the algorithms will like that. Someday, when there's enough people to do it, YouTube will, I'm told, give me enough money to buy a coffee. So I'm skeptical, but give it a try, see what happens. I don't know if you can do it, because I don't know you. You probably can.